This is absolutely freaking incredible. 11,000 years old. So our guide was saying that these newer excavations back here underneath what the structure that they built to look like a UFO for some reason is actually where they believe the houses were. And they were here filming a new episode of Ancient Aliens, and the moment he told us that, we all burst out laughing. Good morning from our incredible freaking hotel here in Stonehenge for Turkey. We're about to go grab some breakfast real quick, and then we are heading out to the site that we had kind of planned this entire trip around, Göbekli Tepe. So I cannot freaking wait to see it, and I'll see you guys there. We have officially arrived at Göbekli Tepe. But I'm going to give you some of the info while we're walking up to the building, because I do know that there is another rather large group up in there, so I feel like it's best if I do the talking out here. And basically this site is the oldest found up to this point human settlement, I guess if you can call it that, because as of now there's no indication or findings to prove that people actually lived here. It's considered to probably be more of a short-term stay, because at the time period humans were still rather nomadic, and they were hunter-gatherers. This is from around 9,000 BCE. The oldest dated stuff here right now is 9,500 BCE. So 11,500 years old. It's absolutely insane how old this place is. This is thousands of years older than Çatalhöyük, where we were in the previous video. As you can see behind me, it's rather desolate at this point, kind of not desert, but it's more barren. 11,000 years ago, that was not the case. It was a rather fertile land. It was green, there were pastures, there were many animals that were passing through here on their migrations. They've actually only uncovered or excavated at this point about 5% of the site, so a very tiny fraction of what this site was. And I am now coming up on it right now to get my first glimpses. As you can see, this site is kind of full of these T-shaped structures, and like with everything in this site, it's kind of unknown what the actual purpose or reasoning or meaning of that was, if there even was one. But one thing you can see is many of the T's did have different depictions of animals and other things in the area. They've also found evidence of what they believe to have been a cistern just outside of this area where we are. They're unsure about how long people actually spent here. So originally believed that this was like a religious site where other hunter-gatherer tribes in the area would actually come. But at this point, that's kind of been, I won't say disproved, but it's not what is generally believed to be the case anymore. They have found the rocks themselves that these were carved from nearby. It was only a few hundred yards away, unlike a lot of the older civilizations where they bring the stuff from miles and miles and miles away. But this site, to some extent, has been being used for thousands of years, roughly about 3,000 years. They can tell that the site had been being used, not necessarily continuously. Over time, they had to actually cover up or buried these circular pit structures that you can see and built more up on top of it. This is absolutely freaking incredible. 11,000 years old. I see my sister up there. She's so freaking happy right now. She's got a huge smile on her face. Whether it was from farming or purely natural, there's evidence of several different types of grains or cereals that grew pretty abundantly here when this area was lush. And after the site had been used for a couple thousand years is when it had actually been purposefully buried by the civilization that built it. No known reason why, but that is the reason that it is so well preserved 11,000 years later. Our guide just showed us a picture of this whole place covered in snow, with a canopy covered in snow, and snow making its way in here. And it said that this canopy was built to protect the site from rain, not snow, because it doesn't snow in this area normally. but it did recently. So he's saying that no, there's likelihood that they're going to end up putting more things like these that you see over here, which are currently just for wind, but they'll likely add more to prevent the snow from coming in here too. The more that they can do to protect it, the better. Originally, they just assumed no one could have lived here, or no one lived here permanently, because currently there is no rivers or water or anything like that nearby. But back then, things were much more fertile, green, and it's likely that the water table was actually higher than it is now. So there was very possibly more springs back then that have probably at this point dried up. And then there's also a couple what is believed to have been cisterns, which could have stored water for a potential rain collection or something like that. Let's see, newer excavations, but they do not allow us down there. But it looks like there's quite a bit. We've got this area up here which has been started. It isn't covered up yet. So our guide was saying that these newer excavations back here, underneath what the structure that they built to look like a UFO for some reason, is actually where they believe the houses were. But he was saying that they mostly do the work or the excavations in the winter time because of the temperatures, which I fully understand, because it's probably about 92 degrees Fahrenheit right now, and it's only about 9:30 in the morning, so it's gonna be a hot one today. I was correct. We can't go back over there again. It's just for the archaeological dig. The reason they built that to look the way it does, very UFO-like, was actually a really good reason. It's actually quite windy up here, and they built it like that, kind of like airplane wings for the aerodynamics, so that it doesn't just get blown up in a way. This is the visitor center in front of Göbekli Tepe. I think a lot of people start here and then go to the site. We went to the site first, and then we're coming down here. This is a very modernized visitor center. Don't know how I feel about that whole 3D thing. I mean, if you're coming here, you might as well go in there and watch it. Ooh, oh, it's so bright. It's so bright. These prices here are more typical museum shop prices, which is not what we've experienced up to this point at the more obscure sites, like where you could buy things for literally $1 or $2. We spent a lot of money here on stuff. But on a completely different note, there was one bus here when we got here, right when we were opening, and now there are 7 full-size tour buses and numerous little private vans like ours. So, yet again, like I've said in previous videos, if you're going to a archaeological site, get there when they're opening, or you are just going to be in crowds and crowds of people. Like, this site isn't a huge site, so to be up there with this number of people would kind of suck. So, first thing in the morning, we're heading now to Karahantepe, which is probably about an hour or so south of here. And that one I really don't expect very many people, if any, to be at, because that is a very newly open to the public site. It's actually a relatively newly discovered site. So I'm looking forward to seeing that, and I'll see you guys when we get there. We've been driving through a pretty desolate, barren, rocky landscape for, I don't know, at least a half hour now. So I'm really pretty sure that there are no more tourists here. And even our guide, who has been doing this for decades, has never been to this site. This is going to be his first time too. So this is definitely the kind of site we like to come to. Very off the beaten path. After a rather adventurous drive down some pretty rocky back roads, we have arrived. I do not know crap about this site, so I'm hoping there's some boards up and stuff that I can gather a little bit of information to give you. But this is also the same time period as Göbekli Tepe. It would be about 11,000 years ago. So pre-pottery Neolithic. Coming in, we did see an actual tour bus coming out. And I'm not talking like a little one, like a big tour bus. Driving it down that road that we were driving down, it's kind of shocking to me. And the fact that this place is so recently open to the public, I can't believe that there's any larger tours that have already added it to its itinerary. Up there on that hill, it appears to be the most active archaeological site we have ever been to. Like, I assume there's some tourists there because there was another little tour van, but it looks like that's mostly archaeologists up there working. It blows my mind that they were even able to find this place out where it is. I mean, look at this. It is out in the middle of nothing. Middle of nowhere. I mean, we've seen excavations where they've been working, but it's always like so separate from where we can go. We're like right here. We're right where they're working. Holy crap. You can see some of the T-shaped columns that they had over at Göbekli Tepe. This is the absolute oldest site that they have found. As of now, it's dated to about 500 years before Göbekli Tepe. However, Göbekli Tepe is still being dug as they dig deeper and deeper into Göbekli Tepe. The age is getting older, but that puts this at around 10,000 BCE. That is absolutely freaking insane. There isn't a whole lot that we can see here. It's just a small section that's open to the public as they're excavating up there still. And for obvious reasons, they don't want new discoveries, things like that, shown before they're able to really analyze and catalog and all that. So we aren't upset with them for not letting us up there. I completely understand. But this is it for our archaeological sites for the day. We're going to be heading back to Sandy Lurfa now and going to the archaeological museum and going to see some mosaics in the old Roman caves, which I showed at the end of the last video. So we're about to head back down the hill, back to our van, and I'll see you guys at Sandy Lurfa. Hey kitty, ow, ow. This kitty here is the friendliest one we've encountered here in Turkey. But on to the outro. We just spent the last, I don't know, 3-ish hours or so wandering around Göbekli Tepe and Karahantepe. At the second site we went to, Karahantepe, we were not the only tour group like we thought we were going to be. There was one other one, and we happened to run into their guide when we were leaving. And he told us what they were there filming. And they were here filming a new episode of Ancient Aliens. And the moment he told us that, we all burst out laughing. It was like, we didn't mean to, we didn't think about it. It was just the moment he said that that's what they were here for, we all just burst out laughing. That might hurt or offend some of you guys who watch and believe that stuff, but we absolutely don't. We actually think it's offensive to ancient civilizations for people thinking that they weren't capable mentally to build the things that they built. He not only was their tour guide, he apparently also has been interviewed and was on 17 episodes of Ancient Aliens. I don't know, it kind of blows my mind that someone who went to school for archaeology and is an actual licensed tour guide follows that stuff. I just cannot understand it at all. But anyways, on to the outro again. If you've watched this far and you haven't already, hit that like button down below, subscribe, And we're heading to the Archaeology Museum next. I believe our guide said it is the largest in Turkey. So that'll be in the next video, and I'll see you guys there. You're so cute.
That's it?
Not a player, just a lover. And I don't, you know what I want. Like, yeah, if they have iced coffee or cold coffee, give me that, yeah.